So originally, Vision 2030 was announced in 2016 by the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. And initially, I think a lot of the West looked at this quite skeptically, and they were like, well, maybe this is, this is just a bit of a project that they brought in, and and we don't really know what to make of it, and is it really gonna actually make a big difference? But I think like now when we're in 2024, I think people have seen all these changes and they suddenly realize, yeah, this is actually real. And there are a lot of good opportunities. And don't get me wrong, I think there's still a lot of people that are very skeptical about the whole, giga projects and what they're trying to achieve. But I think companies are starting to see the opportunities now and where they can fit in and how they can actually become part of this Vision 2030. So let's look at this a little bit more. And essentially, what comes under Vision 2030 is that, Saudi wants to diversify the economy, some of the social structures, and also culturally, they want to really diversify. And a lot of, I think, the goals also they come very much from that desire that they want to diversify away just from living purely out of the oil, and that they need different things for the country. But also, I think to bring in bigger change to the country and modernize the kingdom. And I think what is really interesting to know is that in Saudi, 63% of the Saudis are actually under 30. So that's a huge number of people that are young people. And they have a lot of different needs to some of the older people. And not only that, I think also with the rise of social media, they have seen what is happening in other countries. It doesn't matter if you can't travel to another country, but thanks to social media, you can now see what's happening. Like, what are the restaurants, what is like concerts like? And it's really interesting because up until 2018, Saudi didn't even have cinemas. So it's a massive change. And it's a change that, of course, is very much welcomed by a lot of the Saudis because it really improves their life. And I think that's also one of the other things that they're trying to do with Vision 2030 is to, come up with new things for renewable energy, drive urban development. Tourism culture is a really, really big pillar. And that's even more so interesting because tourism, for example, was never really a thing. The only tourism that Saudi ever had was the religious tourism where people went for Hajj and, they went because they were Muslim and they wanted to go and see the holy sites. But tourism in the context that we know, where we would go to Paris or Rome or something, that was never really a thing. And you couldn't actually get a tourist visa. And I think the final point is that just very recently, I think they brought in these three pillars for Vision 2030, that they want a vibrant society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. So I thought, because you're obviously in events, I thought Qiddiya is an interesting project for you. So Qiddiya is sort of like, I'd say about like 40 minutes sort of south of Riyadh. And the idea is to establish this as a separate city and make this a global hub of entertainment, sports, and culture, but also to offer their own citizens new things. Football games, concerts, things like that that they never had before, but that a lot of the young people actually want. And it's really interesting because a lot of the Saudis used to go to Dubai because essentially there wasn't that much entertainment. And this really has done a massive shift in the last few years because now the entertainment in Saudi is almost better than the entertainment in Dubai. Octagon will be the largest floating structure in the world, and it will also, be sort of like a global trade route or path. It will run out of, or it will run with 100% clean energy. And again, I think Octagon is really designed to be you know, driving innovation, driving technology, attracting companies to become sort of like part of a hub of companies that have really cutting edge technology. And then they've just not very long ago announced not just one, but quite a lot of projects, and they all pretty much centered around the tourism. But they all come under the headline of the Gulf of Aqaba. And I've come up with all of them. So they all kind of have different kind of tourist attractions. So you have Leia, which is like a retreat in the mountains. Then you will have Sadoun, you will have Epicon, and each of them will have sort of very unique, groundbreaking structure. So for example, Epicon has these sort of like two big towers that are going to be like hotels, and the whole idea of this Gulf of Aqaba project is that you bring in some new wellness destinations, some new destinations for walking, for climbing, going into the mountains. So these are pretty much all aimed at tourism. And I'm just going to show you, these are all the ones that they have announced so far. So they have Leia, Epicon, Sadoun, Sena, Sirana, but it continues. They have Aquilum, they have Utamo, and there's two more. There is Elanan and Nolana. So there is a lot of projects under that sort of heading, but they all very much focused on tourism, attracting new tourists, attracting not just the average tourist that just wants to go to, like, let's say a villa and just hang out by the beach, but also have people, that will want to go to the mountains, that will look after their wellness, that may go to yoga retreats. So it's really, really interesting to look at how much they are investing into this. And not only that, also considering that that all of these destinations have never been any kind of tourist attraction ever, and they were never accessible to tourists before. So it's actually a lot of cool things coming. And I think it will really add to the Gulf. And I think what Saudi is doing as well, which I think is very nice, I think it will uplift the whole of the Gulf region. So not just Saudi. And it may also then just bring some of the other countries a bit more into focus. And people may think, I will do a whole round in the Gulf and not just go to Saudi. Maybe I'll go to Saudi, maybe I'll go to Qatar, maybe I'll go to Oman. So some of the other countries, I think, will also benefit from these developments in Saudi. Saudi is very quickly evolving, and it's really interesting because Saudi is also often referred to as the giant that has just woken up. So I thought that was a really nice analogy. And that really, I think, has come a lot from Vision 2030 and what they are trying to do.